Welcome to The Songs That Changed Me with me, Liam, LTGuitarist. I haven't worked out the format for this show, so that'll be a bit of fun, won't it? This episode, I want to talk about a song by Guns N' Roses, It's So Easy, which is the second track off Appetite for Destruction. The reason this song changed me is really stupid, but we'll get to that. I first heard this song in the early 2000s. I'm not certain. I want to say 2003, 2004. I was in secondary school. You might call that high school. I will have been, 15 years old. Back in the day, one of the ways that we had music, one of the ways that we experienced music in the early 2000s was music television, like MTV. I suppose there's probably not music on MTV. Is MTV even on air anymore? I should know these things. We had Scuzz and we had Kerrang. And Scuzz and Kerrang, they would just play music videos from like rock, metal, alternative, grunge music. They would just, on a loop, they'd have 50 songs that they played on a loop. Sometimes they would do like, here's the emo hour, here's the classic rock hour, whatever, and that's how you would experience music back in the day. Back in the day, Scuzz had Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses, also off of Appetite for Destruction, of course, and I quite a few times caught the second half of Sweet Child of Mine for probably a year until I got the album Appetite for Destruction. I didn't realise that it started off basically like a ballad. I thought it was kind of the outro for the entire song, and I thought that was quite cool. I used to go to these car boot sales. Do you have those in the States? I wonder. Like a yard sale, but everyone's there. That was our Sunday morning routine. We'd go around a couple different car boot sales and then we'd have a big old breakfast. And that was how my dad and his dad bonded for years. I say bonded. Some people go fishing. We looked at other people's things they were trying to sell and then ate bacon. There was a guy who had a music stall at one of these car boots. Like, consistently, he was always there. I don't think that was his job. I saw the second half of Sweet Child of Mine a bunch of times, and I was like, that's quite cool. I know the band is Guns N' Roses. I don't know what the album is. I only know the song name and the band name. The internet existed at the time, but we didn't have access to it, not really, in the early 2000s, and it never occurred to me to Google that. That's not how life was in the early 2000s. I figured this guy at the car boot sale will have whatever album this is, it's fine. So he says, hey man, I'm after an album. I only know the name of the song. I don't know what the name of the album is. It's Guns N' Roses. Can you show me your Guns N' Roses? So we flicked through the several albums of Guns N' Roses he had. Appetite for Destruction, of course, has Sweet Child of Mine in it. Cost me like £4. Brilliant. So I take Appetite for Destruction, have my big breakfast with my dad and my granddad, and we head home. That Sunday, I was really looking forward to playing Dark Omen on PS1, the Warhammer game. I can't imagine it's held up over the years now that we have Total War. But anyway, I played Dark Omen, and I plugged in my CD Walkman. I'm listening to the CD Walkman, and I'm listening to, I'm playing Dark Omen, and of course the first track on Appetite for Destruction is Welcome to the Jungle, and I was like, oh, it's these guys, okay, yeah, right, fine. I didn't realise that Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses, was Welcome to the Jungle. Guns N' Roses, just, again, I didn't know this stuff. This was the dark ages, frankly, the early 2000s. That's pretty cool. I have heard this before, it's alright. And we flip over to song 2. It's So Easy, Guns N' Roses, It's So Easy. That was the first time I heard someone swear on a song. And I remember distinctly, I paused Dark Omen, I rewound the CD Walkman 3 or 4 times just to be sure Axl Rose definitely said the F word. And he does, a few times in fact. So for context, in the early 2000s, I didn't like hip-hop. I didn't like popular music, I didn't like hip-hop. My justification for it was that I don't like music with swear words in it, because I was a sickly child. I don't like music with swears in it. I don't like music that's about, gross things. That isn't the reason I wasn't into hip hop. The reason I wasn't into hip hop in the early 2000s is because that's what the kids who were bullying me were listening to. That's all it was. So hearing rock music where there's swears, I was like, oh, well, this changes my perspective on a few things. And buddy, you better believe for the next few years, all the music that I was writing had a bunch of swears in it. Because Axl Rose was polluting young minds well into the 2000s. Wow, that's a pretty cringe memory, huh? The thing about, like, growing up is realizing that Axl Rose is actually not a bad guy. When you learn about, like, the mythology and the stories of Guns N' Roses, you're like, oh, that Axl Rose, oh, he's a real ass. Like, I don't like that guy. I don't like the fact that he, like, took over Guns N' Roses from Slash and Duff, who are presumably the cool ones. But actually, like, no, I'm more and more on Axl Rose's side. Like, the older I get. Like, the whole thing about him essentially turning Guns N' Roses into a business that he is in charge of, I totally get. I don't know if you've ever tried to run any creative projects, like music or otherwise, but, like, if you don't have someone that is legally in charge, things don't happen. I totally sympathise with Axl Rose in that regard. And I also totally sympathise with the fine, then I'll just fire all of you and do it myself, like, attitude. Yep, been there, totally get it. And he got a lot of shtick for, like, trying to talk about real things. Like, I've realised recently that Axl Rose definitely went through some pretty horrendous stuff as a kid, and he wanted to have an outlet for that. And, like, if your lyrics are about something, but your audience don't realise they're about something, yes, you're gonna, like, talk to your audience and explain what songs are about in the middle of a concert. I only really realised that was what was going on fairly recently, and I no longer think Axl Rose is the bad guy. I no longer feel compelled to put rude words in all of the songs that I write because I'm a grown-up now, and that was 20 years ago. So that is how It's So Easy by Guns N' Roses changed me. And then I changed back. Still a good song. It's got a really great bass line. Duff McKagan isn't screwing around. He's great. I don't know how to end this show because I haven't recorded one of these yet. Until now. Yeah, stick around. There will be more music chat at some point, I imagine. Hooroo.